dear. I am live. According to YouTube, I'm live. It is Sunday evening, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Happy 2022. And as you can see, by some unspeakable miracle, after a month of, for some bizarre reason, I think having to do with USB ports, my webcam not working, it's now working again. So I'm here, I have my martini, and we've got some exciting things to talk about that are coming up in 2022. Quick sip of the martini first. So the big deal is that in this very live stream, I am going to launch the first webisode of Salt and Light. So I'm going to take the video and it's going to go live. Of course, I'm not going to do that until the end of the live stream, because if I did it earlier, you would leave the live stream and go watch the video. So what we'll do is we'll just dive in, and I don't expect to be streaming very long tonight. I'm going to make this kind of brief and just, as I say, use it as a way to cover what's kind of going on in 2022 for me and what's new around here. Okay, so first thing is I am finally Discord enabled. Okay, so the description in this very live stream has a link to Discord. Okay. And let me see here. There's really not much. Actually, I guess I can pull this down. There's really not much to see. I only have one friend in the world on Discord, and that's Darren. But if you follow the link that's in the description for this video, you can. It gives you an automatic invite to join my Discord channel. So right now, a lot of the things that are changing and new and happening here in 2022 are in a state of, let's just say it's going to unfold over time. I don't have everything planned out. I'm trying to, in fact, not make it my aim to predict where these things will go, but just get them in motion, and we will deal with them as they flow. Okay, so anyway, long story short is I am now officially, there's a BlendedPlanet Discord channel, and you guys can follow the link in the video description to join up. And the key thing about Discord for me at this point is if you want to interact and communicate with me directly in a more back and forth manner, etc., Discord's going to be the place to do it. I am paying relatively close attention to the Discord channels, and as you know, is the need for different channels within my Discord become apparent, then I'll just create them as we go, and we'll just make it work. Okay, second thing, you will notice finally in my video description for this very live stream that, hey Darren, how you doing, buddy? Okay, so in this very live stream we have a link also to a Patreon. Okay. All right. So this is my Patreon channel, patreon.com BlendedPlanet. Again, it's going to be a work in progress for a bit. And I don't frankly expect anybody to rush out and join. Okay. And I wouldn't expect you to. But the one thing I do want to point out about the Patreon that I did do is that I went ahead and posted a poll, help me help you get more value. And the idea is, what do you want to see, here on the YouTube channel? Okay. And really, if we go to show poll responses, okay, so easy access to Salt and Light webisode, or early access, I should say. I'm just making this stuff off the top of my head. It's like I have no idea what you guys would see as being of value. Okay, but the basic concept for me for Patreon is if someone wants to support this YouTube channel and or on an ongoing basis support the unfolding development of the show. Okay, then Patreon could be a good way to do that. But I want to be open to what you guys are interested going into the next year. So I put some other options here, like exclusive educational content for animation software like Tahoma 2D, Krita, or Blender. I think that's important because there's never been a better time for the software that we use, the open source free software that we use for animation. Tahoma 2D, frankly, in many respects, Krita with version 5 has achieved near parity with the feature set of Tahoma or OpenTunes. It's different. It's not the same. It's very different, actually, and it has a completely different set of strengths. But as you guys know, at least half of the show, Salt and Light, was created not in Tahoma, which is really my main tool these days, but more than half the show was created in Krita. So there's some really cool things in Krita now with the timeline. And so if people want to do a deeper dive, is it going to be a matter of creating a training course or something, and maybe that's like premium content? I don't know. It's really up to you guys. As you know, I have a pretty long history of creating educational content. I've said more than once that I was the first guy on the planet, and I mean that quite literally, first guy on the planet to create a training video for Blender 20 years ago. So I'm well acquainted with that. There hasn't really been a strong need or push to go in that direction, and I haven't really been trying to monetize by creating educational content like that. But if, that's what people are looking for, hey, I'm open to that idea. And the other one, of course, is Blender. And with Blender, I've pretty much landed on 2.93 long-term support version because version 3 is a little persnickety with some people's systems, and they're going to take probably at least a couple years to get all the bugs out. So 2.93 as an animation tool, it's pretty awesome, But of course, my main tool remains Tahoma 2D, which is a fork of OpenTunes for those who don't know. All right, so the in terms of getting back to Patreon, it's not that I'm well, let me recap this poll. So in the poll, early access to Salt and Light webisodes, educational content, exclusive content related to indie filmmaking or writing musical scores. Those are two things that I've done a lot of. I've written and directed feature films, a couple of which have been pretty successful, and so I know a lot about that. So maybe that's something people want to know more about. Maybe the Discord channel, there should be a channel devoted to that. Hey, Pen. Let's see, limited access, special interest live streams covering topics you help determine. These are just ideas off the top of my head. One-on-one consultation to help you with a project or your skills. That certainly is an area where I could be a benefit probably to a lot of people. How that looks, how do you charge for that or whatever, I don't know. Something else I'm missing, I'll connect with you on Discord to share specifics. So there's an idea. If you want to follow the link in this video to the Discord channel and weigh in the general discussion about some things maybe you'd like to see on the channel, go for it. I would appreciate that. Now, if everybody kind of sort of feels like, what I do with my Animation Truman Show, which is just a live, you're looking over the shoulder watching the animator work, if that's really just what you want to see, cool. Let me know. Okay. So that's that. So now on the fundraising side of this, it is simple reality that, number one, I do know that I bring a lot of value to many dimensions of the media creation arena. And so at some point, it really had to happen where we start looking at how we monetize this. Now, I want to share this with you guys because I know that the people that are going to watch this particular live stream, there's not going to be very many of you. And you guys get me. You've been watching me for a while. You kind of know where I come from. So all this stuff about fundraising, although I've mentioned and talked about doing a crowdfund multiple times, I've never done it. And frankly, the reason I haven't done it is because I haven't wanted to do it until I was really sure that there was an approach to it that I felt good about, and also at such a time when I felt I'm really confident I'm going to be able to deliver the goods in terms of what I'm raising support for. So hence that leads us to this other thing, which is I've chosen to go with GoFundMe because I used GoFundMe in the past. I did a crowdfund for the last film I did, which was Healed by Grace 2. And so here we have a crowdfund on GoFundMe. The whole idea is that this is a totally open-ended thing. Like nobody on the planet's even going to know that this exists. Okay, and so you might look at this and go, oh my gosh, that's a pretty high goal, $144,000. Well, actually what that is, and it's explained here, is that that's based on a budget of $12,000 per 24-minute episode. So it's really a fairly paltry sum. So the idea, my mindset is this. If the show did not either raise or earn that level of dollars within 3 years, over the 3 years that I plan to be creating the show, then the show would have to be deemed to be a failure certainly from a financial or business standpoint. Creatively, it's a blast, and this is the risk we take. So the mindset here is go to GoFundMe if you want to specifically support Salt and Light. Go to Patreon if you specifically want to support me as a YouTube creator. That's the way I'm thinking of it at this point. But again, these things will probably evolve, and I expect these crowdfunding platforms to, my approach to GoFundMe is it's completely open-ended. In other words, it's just going to grow very, very slowly. There's no deadline, okay, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, what else? Well, geez, I covered Discord, Patreon, GoFundMe. All the stuff is in the links for this live stream. Did I miss anything? Do you have any questions about any of this? What I'm doing, how I'm doing it, why I'm doing it, yada, yada, yada. Because if you don't, I'm thinking what I'm going to do is take a sip of my martini, and then I'm going to literally launch the first webisode of Salt and Light, which is going to be, it's basically 5 minutes long. So you've got 1 minute that's the intro to the show. So future webisodes will have an abbreviated, shortened intro. Okay? But the first episode has the full-length intro that you guys have probably seen before. So you'll have 1 minute of that, and then you got a 4-minute episode. So what's happening is episode 1 of the show, which is mostly animated, as you guys probably know, episodes 1 and 2, both 24-minute episodes, are mostly animated. Okay, so and it kind of explains this in kind of the GoFundMe pitch, is that what is there left to do? Well, judicious. What I'm doing here, like this shot right here that you see, this is a remake of a shot that was probably done, sometime in 2021. And I looked at the characterization of Melchizidek, and I said, you know what? It's not good enough. I got to fix it. It needs to be better, blah, 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 blah. And in fact, I even blocked out the next couple shots that go with this on paper today. So I expect in live streams this week, I'll be actually just doing the animation on some scenes that were done at an earlier time that aren't quite where I want them to be. So what's happening is episode 1, which is 24 minutes long, yes, it's mostly animated. But now where we have to go from here is judicious revision of some shots. Some shots are improved a little bit, reanimated or added, things are added to punch it up and make it a little better. The 24-minute episode will ultimately... oh, thanks, Darren. That's very kind. I'm launching in the most willy-nilly manner, okay? Because there is no plan. There's literally no plan. I'm doing my best, but anyway. So where was I before I was so rudely interrupted? I better take another drink of my martini. Oh, judicious updates of the animation, because if we switch over here, you'll see that. Like within the so this is actually the quote unquote webisode that I'm going to launch here shortly when I finish this live stream. So that's this section of the show, which of course I'm not going to play it now because you guys are going to be able to watch it here shortly. But then we've got all of this animation, and you could just say that throughout there's just things I'd like to improve, and fix. So what's going to happen is the next period of time is going to be kind of taking this section of the show and just punching it up and making sure it's up to speed, and also adding, as I did on the first section, the voices, the musical score, the sound effects, everything that makes it a polished production. Okay, so that's what's coming up on the live streams. Is going to be more of the Animation Truman Show, just doing what I do, so that I can go ahead and move forward and release another webisode. I would guess maybe in a couple months or something. Okay, so that's the idea there. The mindset behind, also I wanted to mention this. The mindset behind the crowdfund is this. Right now, this show gets about 1 to 2 hours a day, average, of attention from me. I really want to turn it into a full-time job, okay, so that I can reliably actually crank out an entire 24-minute episode about every 4 months or so, 3 to 5, okay? And if I was working on it full-time, all of the available data, considering that I have done all of this, okay, considering that I have written the score and I've scored complete films, so I know how long scoring takes, on and on and on, I really know the workflow. And I say that to say that I have a pretty good bead on how much I can produce. And if I was working on this full time and could justify doing so, then I'm pretty confident an episode every 4 months would not be outrageous at all. So, all right, so that's that. Let's see. I think we're getting closer here to the launch moment because, frankly, has there been any scrapped ideas? That's a great question. I would say not really. There's been things that have been revised. There are occasionally, especially once you get into, like when you get into the flow of the edits and the characters, and you see how they, for lack of a better term, how it's playing. It does often happen that there will be small changes in the dialogue. Like maybe the wording will change a little bit. Certainly there have been many times where there have been voices that where their inflection or approach turned out not to be quite right, and so it gets updated, and changed. So, but as far as scrapped ideas, I'm usually pretty tight on plot. So when I write a screenplay, you can pretty well figure, it's going to go through a couple drafts. For sure, but generally I pretty much know what I'm writing when I write it. And I say that as a guy that's written probably 20 full-length feature film screenplays over the years, and well, maybe not 20. Actually, I'm going to say I've created 8 feature films. As I say, 2 of them have been, one very successful, one modestly successful, and then I probably had about at least 4 or 5 screenplays that I wrote that I never produced. I had at least, there were 2 specific screenplays that I was commissioned to write for other producers. And so what does that bring you to? That brings you to about 15, right? So I've been around the trenches, in the trenches and around the block, I should say, mixed metaphors, with screenwriting. So yeah, I'm usually pretty firm on what I'm doing. So the general concept for the 12 episodes of Salt and Light, it's not written, okay? It's plotted. Episodes 1 and 2 are written. The rest, I have sort of a beat sheet that says, okay, in episode 3, we need to deal with this particular issue that might be kind of fun to deal with, but within dealing with that issue in a self-contained episode, you've also got to move the greater epic story forward. Because there is an epic story that runs through the entire 12 episodes, that resolves in 12 episodes. So anyway, that's kind of the story behind that. So great question. I appreciate that. All right, so I think we're good. I've been live streaming for 29 minutes, so let's call it a half an hour. And I am going to, right now, you can't see this, but I am going to go on my other screen, and I have set the webisode to be public, and then I just hit save. So that means that you guys are going to leave me. I know you are, because if you now refresh my YouTube channel, you will see that the Webisode 1 of Salt and Light has now been released, and you guys can watch it. So, there it is. Feel free to share it with your friends, talk about it, whatever. And with that, I think I'm going to sign off. Say goodnight to Zuko, who you can hear chirping in the background. Hey, Maria, I'm actually going to sign off because I just cut loose and went public with the first Webisode segment of Salt and Light. So you can find it here on my YouTube channel now. And with that, as you guys know, there will be more later.